Hello, homeroom families and students. I wanted to give you a tour of the new online high school platform. I know we have many new students and some of you are a little confused about where to go and what to do. So I wanted to give you an overview of what you should be doing every day. So this should be your landing page as a student when you first log in. If this is not the page you are seeing, then that means that you are accidentally using your Learning Coach login. So even if you're using your Learning Coach login and you're using the change user feature, that's not going to allow you to see everything that you need to see. So make sure when you very first log in that this is the page that you land on. Okay? So extremely important habit to get into is checking your K-mail first thing, checking to see what classes you have, checking your current averages in all of your courses, and then of course getting to work in the courses. Okay? So first of all, let me just click on K-mail and I'll show you the K-mail here. You can see here's all of your K-mail. You'll want to read through it. If it's in bold, that means that you have not read it before, so you need to make sure that you're viewing your K-mail. Next is the Class Connect schedule, so you can see if you have sessions, they'll be right here for today. So let me just click on the Go to Class Connect and you will see that this will pop up your Class Connect schedule. Okay, so let me just adjust my screen here. So you can see that this particular student had 3 classes today. Okay, but let's say that you're trying to make up some phrases that pay from your required classes. So any of those that you miss, you can click on this little calendar icon right here, and you can go back to any of your Class Connect. So let's just say you want to go back to March 14th. You can see that there are some optional, and here's a required Class Connect that this student has, okay? So what you'll want to do is click on this Class Connect and it will pop up this little screen right here, and what you're going to do is click on this hyperlink. You see how that underlines if I click on it? That will play you the recording of the class, okay? So instead of going to class, it's going to play you the recording of the class, and that's how you access your old Class Connect. So again, you can click on this calendar icon, you can go back to February. Let's click on February and see if the student had a on Friday. We can click back to Thursday. Here they are. Again, you'll click on this, it will pop up a screen. Oh, that one didn't have a recording, but if I click on this one, pop it up, click on the blue highlighted part here, and that will take you to the recording. Okay, so that's getting those old Class Connects. All right, now let's go back to our main screen again. So again, you'll want to check what classes you have for the day, see which ones are required, and you'll want to go to the required ones or watch the recording if you can't make it live, but we recommend you go live so you can ask questions. Then you'll have your optional classes that we of course want you to attend too. Okay, now attending class is only attending class. It's not getting the coursework done. So there's a couple of different things that you have to do with Kava. We want you to go to class because your teachers are going to show you how to work. They're going to show you what the topics are being covered this week. They're going to help you. You can ask questions. You can interact with other students. So we want you to go to class. But going to these classes does not get the work turned in. Getting the work turned in has to happen through the classes, and these are the classes. So you can see your overall percentages here on this class, okay? So let's go into this student's American Literature class. So I'm just going to click on it from here. And this is the American Lit class, okay? So let me just resize my screen here. You can see that this is the American Lit class up at the top. Now, it's the same thing for every class. These very important buttons: class home, plan, content, progress, and grades are extremely important. So let's go through these one at a time. Right now we're on class home. Let's go to class plan. Super, super important. This is the calendar for every course. So if you're looking at that 0% there and you're saying, well, what am I missing? Why do I have 0%? Okay, let's go to the calendar. Now look at this. We have a couple of different things that we can do. We can go, I prefer that you go to the month view. Do you see this month button right here? Especially if you're behind. And you see how this student has it set to all calendars? We don't want it set to all calendars. We want it set to the English calendar. So I'm going to set it so that I'm only seeing the English American Lit class because that's the class that we're in. So if you see that yours needs to be changed, please use this drop down menu here and change that so that's on that particular class that you're looking at. Okay, so if I'm looking, today is actually March 16th. So if I'm looking, I can see what's going on in March. I can see that there is Unit 3, Unit 3, Unit 3. It looks like if I click on these, I can see that there's an assessment on Saturday. That probably wasn't supposed to be scheduled on Saturday, but I'm sure that teacher will fix that. And then there's also some other things going on here. You can see last week was all of Unit 2. You can see back on the first week of March was Unit 2. You can flip back on the calendar to see what was going on in February. So remember, you can click on each one of these things too, and it will tell you what's going on each day. So that you can, if you're missing assignments, you know what you did back in February. And also, if you're trying to figure out what's going on for the week, you can look at the whole week. So that is the calendar. Very important that we're looking at that. Okay. Now, grades tab is the, let's go in order here. So that was the plan. So content is where we actually do the work. Okay. So we saw that there was a test coming up on Friday, it looked like, for Unit 3. So if we click on this, we can see that there's all these lessons that we should be going through. We should be clicking on each one of these lessons. So let me just click on one of these lessons for you here. And we should be reading through and doing what the lesson tells us to do, okay, until you get to the graded assignment. So you can see that there is a essay writing strategies, and there's probably an essay. This is not my course, so I'm not familiar with the actual content that's coming up, but as you can see, if you flip through it, you're eventually going to get to the part where you get to the graded assignment, the work that needs to be turned in, okay. So if I go to unit assessment, there's that unit assessment that we saw on the calendar. Look at that right there. There's the assessment, okay? So if I click on this, you can see that it's going to take me to a quiz, okay? And then I'm going to click start the quiz, which is kind of hidden by my screen down here. But that's how you can get through that material and see what it is that you need to do. Now, very important, go to your grades tab. If you can't figure out why you're failing a class or why you have a 0 in a class, go to the grades tab. Please go to the grades tab every time you log into a class. So this is one of the key tabs that I always tell my students to go in to. And you're going to look at your grades, and specifically you're going to look for zeros. You see this? Zeros. That's what I mean by look for zeros. This student received 0 out of 20, 0 out of 45, 0 out of 55. So we need to make up these assignments. All assignments at CAVA that you received a 0 for, you can make up until the very end of the semester, okay? So what you need to do is go back and find that actual assignment, so that was 2.13 unit assessment. Go find it in the content and make it up. And of course you'll want to study, you'll want to watch recordings. Remember, you can find recordings on that Class Connect schedule, okay? So I know that the 2.13 assessment, the student received a 0 for. So let's go back to content. And let's find the 2.13 assessment. And again, this is not my course, so I'm just digging around just like I would be if I was a student. And there it is, 2.13 unit assessment. And we know that it's overdue, and we know that we need to get it done. Okay, so there's the unit assessment part 1. Unit assessment part 2 looks like a teacher graded assignment. Okay, so again, extremely important that you're checking the class home, which is where the announcements are. So you'll want to be reading all of these announcements here. Course materials, some teachers put their even their recordings in the course materials. I know in my class I put right where you see those tests, I put recordings there, but if you are having trouble finding the recordings, make sure you reach out and K-mail your teacher. Content is of course where you actually do the material, and grades is where you look for what you have earned, okay? So again, if you see any zeros, those need to be made up. So if you are behind, start making yourself a list of all the zeros that you have in your course, as well as getting to the current material. And how you find the current material is on the course plan, and of course by reading those announcements. Okay, so that is how you get started. You can click go to your next class. And so here is the next class, same thing. You'll want to look at the plan, what's going on. You'll want to look at the grades. Let's look at the grades and see what's going on here. We have a 0, 0, 0, 0, 0. Okay. Looks like the teacher has left some specific feedback, even put their class connects in there, so that's awesome. So the student would just need to click on that link and write down that phrase it pays and submit it. Okay. And there's the zeros, so you'll make yourself a list of zeros. Okay, so that is the majority of how to work in our new online high school, and especially if you're behind, please use this as a guide to help you get caught up. When you log in every day, again, you're going to check your Class Connect, you're going to read your KML, you're going to look at your current percentages in each course, and then you're going to log into every single class every day. That is part of our enrollment requirements. We need for students to log into every class every day. Even if you don't think there's a lot to do, that's fine. Just check in, read the class plan, make sure you've done everything, check your grade book, make sure you don't have any zeros, and we will surely see you succeed if you follow this method. Thank you so much for taking the time to watch this.